Alright, so this time we're going to be looking at the STAX L300s, pretty much the king of the budget electrostatic ear speakers, and we're going to be comparing them to the Focal Elex. This one's a newcomer in the audiophile industry, but it has already taken the world by storm. It is an offering by Focal, the French audio company that pretty much specialized in car audio, and Mass Drop, now named Drop. These are very interesting cans and they're quite popular in the audiophile community. So these are priced at $700 brand new, but you can find them pre-owned for about $550, $520. These, alongside their Energizer, are paired for around $700 brand new, but you can find them for around $550 pre-owned. Same price point, different purposes. So which one of these two should you get? Well, let's start by going over the contents real quick. As far as the comparison goes, look, the Focal LX come with their own box. Like, it can be used as a display box, but I find that the chasm here is too deep but narrow to sit on, and hopefully the lid doesn't just fall off here. But unfortunately, even though it looks really nice and it looks like it can be, oh, it fell, told you. It looks very nice and it looks like it can be used as a display box because of how very nice it looks. It just can't. Do not expect to be using this as a display box anytime soon. Also, if you plan on getting the Elex or any Focal headphone for that matter, expect to purchase a replacement cable very, very soon. The cables included may work, but they're very short. They are made of terrible feeling materials and are overall uncomfortable to use, honestly. Also, there have been plenty of rumors about the stock cables not working after a while, so obviously you're gonna want to avoid that. So let me just get this out of the way here. Excellent. Let's just center that. Beautiful, beautiful. Now the L300s on the flip side are usually sold in a combo unit consisting of the SRM252S electrostatic energizer, which is its proprietary amplifier, to put it simply, the STAX branded 100-volt transformer, which you cannot use in the United States due to the mismatched voltage requirements, and may include a short pair of RCA cables for you to tack on the 252S to your existing audio chain. And by the way, you'll have to buy a separate transformer, one that is rated for 110 to 120 volts for use in the United States, with a reverse polarity. That is the positive pole on the outer ring and the negative pole on the inner ring. Now, as far as the build quality is concerned, look, hands down, the winner is the LX here. These things have some of the best build quality elements that you'll find in a headphone today. And keep in mind that my unit came pre-owned and it was like already kind of a little bit dinged up and what have you, so they look much better in person than they do on camera, which I think is a good thing because obviously you wouldn't want the opposite. Anyways, every single part of this headphone is made entirely out of metal, excluding the headband padding right here. This is more of like a fake leather. And the ear pads and the bottom of the headphone, the headband padding as well. Those obviously are not metal. The headband padding and the ear pads are quite plush and comfortable, but the pads do wear down pretty quickly. This is a good thing since it only adds to the headphone's comfort, which is, let's just say every last bit of it is absolutely appreciated. Now, as far as the rattling goes, it rattles a tiny bit, but within reason. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to give you guys a bit of an audio test here. See, pretty much nothing. You probably heard an extremely exaggerated version of what I hear, just because, well, everything's really quiet and it's right next to the camera. So none of that detracts from the listening experience. The ports on the LX are a dual 3.5 millimeter tip sleeve connector. So just keep that in mind whenever you're trying to buy yourself an aftermarket cable. Do not go for the Hi-Fi-Men's cable, which is a tip ring sleeve dual 3.5 millimeter cable. If someone could please explain in the comment section, because I've tried looking this up but I haven't had time yet. Can you use a Hi-Fi-Men cable, a tip ring sleeve solution on this? Yes or no? And explain why, please. Now, the ports on the Elex, I did say they are dual 3.5 tipped sleeve connectors, but they are not interchangeable. So the left has to go on the left side and the right has to go to the right side. There's no swapping back and forth. And if you do that, which I accidentally did the first time around, you'll end up sending the opposite audio signal into the wrong cup. That was increasingly apparent when I was playing Overwatch, and then I heard Soldier on the left side and then he was on the right side, and I'm like, is this good audio? No, it's not. It was just me being stupid. Now, on the other hand, the L300s are made entirely out of a cheap plastic that you see in Chinese-made electronics, that you would buy from your city's downtown area. Also, the cable, not detachable. By the way, I just, covered the serial number right there, but that is where the serial number would be located at. The connector that goes into the Energizer is a proprietary STAX adapter, which can only be used on STAX amps and third-party amps that support STAX ear speakers. The ear pads are very thin, but they're plush. The headband is a suspension strap whose top is made of matte plastic, as you can see, while the part that touches your scalp is like a cloth-like material. So, very different headbands, very different comfort levels. Speaking of comfort, who's the winner? L300s, of course. So, despite the fact that the metal does offer better build quality and longevity, it does not come without its caveats, comfort being one of them. The L300s are extremely lightweight, which coupled with their adequate clamp force makes for a very secure yet comfortable listening experience. On the flip side, the Focal Elex are quite heavy on the head and start off with quite a bit of clamp force. This is why I mentioned that the pads wearing down is actually a good thing. Now, luckily, the weight distribution system is quite excellent, so it never feels terrible. That said, these are some of the least comfortable headphones I have yet to wear, and I really do mean that statement. So now let's jump into the sound quality here. Full disclosure, I did test these out without any EQ applied, and at the end of that, during the notes and observation section, I will mention pros and cons of using EQ on these. So for now, just take it at stock. Consideration is stock. Now, as far as the bass is concerned, the winner is undoubtedly the Elex. I mean, the bass responses of these two are they couldn't be any more different if they tried, for the most part. The L300s offer a bit of a hump around the lower mid-bass area, which provide a decent amount of punch to the music, but they do tend to roll off quite quickly as you go lower. There's pretty much no sub bass in these whatsoever, especially without any EQ. The Elex, on the flip side, have that same slight thickness and forward nature that the L300 have in that mid bass area. Maybe not as much, maybe just a hair less, but they do not roll off anywhere near as quickly. The bass response remains quite linear and goes quite deep, providing the same level of punch these offer, while also providing that rumble to complement it. So I'll give an example, Zealots of Stockholm. At the 3:06 minute mark, the Elex definitely outshone the L300s, reproducing an audible bass note throughout the majority of the valley with a gradual and controlled ascension. So just as an FYI, I tend to give the L300s a tiny lift in the sub bass in the 30 Hz area to bring the lower end up to speed with the mid bass, and just by like 2 decibels, but I'll explain that later. As for the Elex, I actually reduce the lower mid bass by a little to produce a slightly less forward response in some tracks, but I no longer do this as I am no longer bothered by this, and I'd rather just use them stock, enjoy the thickness a bit, and if it gets too annoying, then I just swap over to my 600s or my 800s and, problem solved. Now let's jump into the mids. The winner here is the L300, for sure. Listen, the cello sounds more natural on the L300, more thick and syrupy on the Elex. The vocals in general are more forward and detailed on the L300s, while being more of a comfortable listen on the Elex. That said, the L300 do offer a tad better separation between the instruments and the vocals themselves. Generally speaking, the L300 offer a snappier, crispier response. However, the Elex offer a more lush presentation. Although I do personally prefer the L300's mids a tad more, they can also be a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes. Now, as far as the treble is concerned, the winner here, the Elex. Listen, the L300's treble is definitely quite the double-edged sword here. It can be great for tracks that are mixed well, but can really shatter eardrums on treble-heavy tracks. Like, just examples off the top of my head. Bangarang, Cowboys from Hell by Pantera, and I'm talking about Hell, Michigan, by the way. Now, the Elex, on the other hand, proved to be more of a jack-of-all-trades here, offering a smoother response that agrees with just about every track you throw at it, while still offering an excellent amount of speed and detail. Like, it isn't perfect, but it's far more perfect than the L300's treble. For sure. As far as soundstage is concerned, honestly, they're a tie. Both sound stages are equally as wide, pretty much. However, the L300 sound more open and free due to its more, well, open design. As you can clearly see, it's a fly swatter. It looks like a fly swatter. Actually, you know what? Hold on a sec. Hold on. Hey guys, this just in, check out what I got. I got the L700s in to go ahead and review side by side the L300s. Isn't that fantastic? Anyways, both are absolutely excellent at imaging, and it really is tough to decide which does it better. One thing to note is that the movement of sound in the L300s is as speedy and nimble as air itself, while the Elex is it's more majestic and flow-like, similar to the ocean's waves. So I know it's not exactly imaging per se, but it's the only thing that I could come up with to describe the differences between the two's imaging. With the L300s, it's just like it's fast, it's there, it's snappy. With the Elex, it's more like water. It's like yes, it's still there at the same time, but it just flows more. It's more of a flow as opposed to a zap, zap, zap. Now the notes and observations portion, while I do have to EQ the L300 to be able to enjoy their sound comfortably, I do not have to do this with the Elex. Without EQ, I find the L300 to be too sharp in the treble to enjoy on certain tracks. Bangarang, for example. On the other hand, I would apply a minor treble pullback at 10K that is mostly unnecessary. More importantly, I would pull back that lower mid-bass response at 83 Hz and 180 Hz if I wanted to get rid of that tiny bit of forwardness. More details on that in the Focal Alexis review in my channel, of course, so go ahead and head down there if you want to hear more details about that. Now, big note, I would not use the Elex single-ended, especially with their cable, of course, but I would not, this is balanced, but look at the balance cable right now, just really quick. This thing is hot garbage. Use this as little as necessary because it's trash. Do not use them single-ended because they gain so much from being balanced. And I know they don't require a lot of power, but trust me, they gain more imaging capabilities. They gain a little more of a soundstage. They gain more detail. They just gain everything. They just kind of sound lazy and lacking they lack will. They don't want to do things if you're running them single-ended. So do keep that in mind. And if you have been running these single-ended for some time now, trust me, just get yourself an XLR cable and run them balanced. You're gonna see a huge difference. I mean big. So as I said, with the Elex, you can run them single-ended, but don't. You can run them XLR, please do. And you can even use them on a tube amp, which I personally wouldn't, but that's a matter of taste. If you want to use them on a tube amp and it works for your combo, go ahead and use it. Solid state, in my opinion, would be the best way to go for these, but that's up to you. Now on the flip side, EQ is pretty much the only way to alter the sound of the L300 since their amp is, for all intents and purposes, proprietary. Now we approach the conclusion. Look, despite the strength of the L300, I prefer the Elex sound-wise in the majority of cases. The Elex still have plenty of presence in the treble without being too forward or bright, while also providing decent mids and excellent, although sometimes too forward, bass, or mid-bass to be exact. Now the only thing I really dislike about the Elex is just definitely the comfort issues I experience with them. Again, more details on that later, but again, more details on that in the Focal Alexis separate review. But that's pretty much going to do it for him. I like the Elex and I like the L300s, but have I kept the Elex? I have. Have I kept the L300s? Well, for about a month I have. So, I mean, you tell me. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. Thank you very much for watching this. And, oh, by the way, I am partnered with Amazon affiliates again, so feel free to go ahead and go ahead and follow that link every time I post it up. Funny I should mention this when I'm not going to put up any links because this is not on Amazon, but you get my point. Whenever I post something on Amazon, go ahead and use that link, and if you want to buy that product, then it's going to help me out. So thank you very much. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, leave your questions and comments down below, and thank you very much. I'll speak to you in the next one.